Hey, how you doing? Anthony Urciuoli here. It is the Forge Audio Network, and it is the match in review, and a fun one to review if you're a Forge fan. 2-1 the final. Forge FC with the win at Cavalry FC, and with that win, Forge moves to the top of the CPL table, 29 points in 15 matches, and it is technically a three-way tie at the top with Forge, Ottawa, and Pacific. Cavalry now dropping to fourth. And Forge clear now of Cavalry with 1 point. But Forge, Ottawa, Pacific tied with 29. Forge, though, has played less games than both. They've played two less than Pacific. And Forge has a better goal differential as well. Forge now 4 wins in a row. Cavalry, 3 straight losses for the first time in the club's history. It looked for a while there like Cavalry was going to be the team to beat, and they have hit a skid. And as a result, that's the nature of the league. 6-point games every single match. And that's why you're seeing the standings move as much as they do week to week. You never know. This time next week, it may look different. Hopefully not, though, if you are a Forge FC fan. Things did not start the way Forge wanted. Cavalry opened the scoring. It was Mason off the corner. 1-0 in the first minute, the third fastest goal in CPL history. Forge, though, comes back before the half is out, and who else but Wubens Pacias in the 37th minute. He now has 9 on the year. He's 2 off the lead, and we have to always point it out. He's behind Diaz, but he's played 2 less games, and he's played 500 less minutes. So impressive stuff from Wubens Pacias. He now has 6 goals in his last 4 matches. So we go into halftime, score tied at 1. And then in the 49th minute, Kyle Becker, captain, dependable, 2-1, Forge on top. Chouanier with the assist. A curious moment, and we're going to hear from head coach. Actually, we're going to hear from Chouanier. We're also going to hear from Forge FC head coach and technical director Bobby Smyrniotis. Emery Walshman and Taryn Campbell came on in the 70th and 71st minute, replacing Pacias and Chouanier. Most coaches, when you're up 2-1 in the second half on the road, you're in the 70th minute, you're thinking defense. You're thinking stopping the other club from scoring. Not Bobby Smyrniotis. He puts 2 fresh attackers on. He'll explain more in detail, but he told us that he just wanted to score more, that they felt that they could beat Cavalry on the counter because Cavalry had to push now to equalize, and they would capitalize on that. So they were looking for more. Welshman and Campbell come on. More subs from Forge in the second half. Poku came on for Borges. Malik Olawabi Bellew came on for Ashton Morgan in the 80th minute. And then Tristan Henry absolutely robbing Mason from another goal and an equalizer. Big save in the 87th minute, and that would be Cavalry's best opportunity. They could not finish. Forge comes out on top. Speaking of getting more defensive, Dominic Samuel did come on the 90th, replacing Kyle Becker, a natural center back Samuel. So it took until the 90th minute for Bobby to say, okay, let's put in another defender and defend here. Speaking of Bobby, let's get his general thoughts on the match. Let's talk about, we'll ask him about those subs that he made with the 2 attackers and his thoughts on Pacias. Here's Bobby.
He's a pretty good striker, I think. He's what I've talked about, in and around the box. He's lethal. He knows how to find himself in good positions, and he knows how to take his opportunities. This is a guy that's growing, game by game. Was excellent for us last year and in that half a season, and now he's come into it. As every young player, he's got things to work on. But if you're a striker and you can turn your 1 chance or 2 chances into 1 goal per game, I think that's what everybody is looking for in the world. And I think if he keeps that up, his future is bright. He's got a great head on his shoulders, comes in, works hard. Takes the information that we're giving him on how his movements need to be. But he just needs to keep on the same trajectory, keep his head down, stay humble, as I want from all of the players. And that's how success keeps on coming to you. Yeah, it's something we talk about, not necessarily for this game, but in the previous games, because like I said, I think earlier in this year we got shocked a couple of times. We were very good in the matches, and we've lost 1-0. And we've tried to really discuss those points and not showing any frustration. Whether that goal comes against early, it comes late, you have to stick to what works, because usually we're creating a lot of opportunities in each game we play. So you have to stay with that. If you believe in what you've worked on in the week, not only in the week, in the season for us, in your principles, then that's your guiding way to get something of success. So I think that's what we're showing more and more each game. Last game against Valor, again, we've gone down 1-0, come back and turn that game into a 3-1 win at Tim Hortons Field, and we've done it here. So the guys are showing a lot of good tactical awareness, and that's one thing that I'm very happy with this group. We've got a lot of new players in comparison to the years before, and the team's taking good stride.
And what was the thought behind the first pair of subs, the Campbell and Welshman coming on?
Yeah, I think right there you want to freshen up the front line. I think when you can freshen up the players there, you can make sure that you also provide a good threat for our opponents. We're spinning on a few games every 3 days now. That we've been playing, and Passius has been excellent. Chouanière, the same thing. But when you can bring guys like Campbell and Welshman off the bench, I think you don't hesitate as a coach. You get those guys in there, they're going to provide a big problem for the opponent, especially when the opponent is going to search for a tying goal, and we know we're going to find spaces to be able to go on semi-counter. So that's the idea there. It keeps us fresh, keeps us with the ability to stay higher up in the field, and I think that worked out for us well.
Also speaking post-match, David Chouanière, he had the big assist on the Becker goal, and he talked about his team's performance against Cavalry.
It meant a lot for us. We prepared well. We wanted the 3 points. So no matter how we get it, we wanted to get the 3 points to get top of the table. And I think the boys put a shift, and we got a W at the end of the day.
Before every match, I give out my 3 keys to the match, which you can listen to on the Forge Audio Network through podcast, YouTube, subscribe, all those things. Catch up on social media as well. One of the keys, and we'll get more in depth and go over those keys before the match and see how Forge did, but I'll give you a spoiler here. It's not a spoiler because I already said it in the 3 keys. Anyways, swagger. Forge swagger, Steel City swagger, however you want to put it. I think I said it's Spruce Meadows swagger, but we'll call it the Steel City swagger because post-match, Tommy Wheeldon Jr., Cavalry FC's head coach, talked about the Forge swagger, which I thought was interesting.
I thought we started well, and I thought we finished well, and then that sandwich in between, I think they were better than us and a little bit more savvy. Just disappointed with gifting them goals, soft goals. And then you do that to a good side like these. They know how to turn the screw. They've got that nice swagger about them, but they got the swagger of the champions, We're still contenders.
Now, we talked about Mr. Dependable, Captain Kyle Becker for Forge FC, who had the winning goal for Forge. Always comes through in the big moments. And we heard Bobby mention it, and Tommy Wheeldon Jr. mentioned it as well. And we talked about it too, but one club capitalized on their opportunities, were more efficient, the other was not. And let's hear what Cavalry's coach had to say.
Sergio's had a good chance, Joe Mason's had a good chance, and you've got to put them away. I think they get their chances, they put them away. That's the difference. Kyle Becker loves this game, and he gets one chance, puts it away. That's what quality will do for you. So it's up to us now to stand up and be counted. Big players play in big moments.
All right, let's revisit those 3 keys to the match prior to the game. Number 1 was confidence crush. I said Forge was going to have to come out early. This is a club that's kind of brittle right now in Cavalry. They're not in form. They've lost more consecutive games than they have at any point in franchise history. Jump on them early, get the early goal, make them doubt themselves. The complete opposite happened. Cavalry jumped out in the first minute, very early. Cavalry had all the momentum for the first handful of minutes before Forge started getting better and better as the game went on. So that didn't happen, but didn't matter because Forge was able to recover and rally on the road in a very tough place to play against a very good team that was desperate for a win and motivated for so many reasons. One of them being they're playing Forge, and this is a club that they want to beat. And it's we heard in the match day preview that Forge was the hated team out in Calgary and amongst soccer fans. So tough place to come back in hostile territory, but Forge did it. So they did not complete the first key, but it didn't matter. Play with possession was another. They did get a slight edge in possession, maybe not as much as they'd wanted. It was around 51%. We'll give it a check, but it's a lazy check. Last time these two clubs played, Forge was up around 60%, which is not something. I mean, you can't ask for that every game, and especially not on the road against a team like Cavalry. But okay, we hit 51, so we'll give a slow check mark. Key number 3, Spruce Meadows swagger. I should have been Steel City swagger. Now I'm regretting my naming choices here. But yes, they had it. They showed it. We're Forge. We know Cavalry have had a pretty good season despite your recent losses, but we're Forge FC. We're the defending champs. We beat you twice in the final. We're the team to beat. You're not. And Forge played that way. A confident group, and even Cavalry's coach noticed it. We are now joined by Benedict Rhodes, contributor with CanPL.ca. Benedict, it was a highly anticipated match with these two clubs who I think many felt this was going to be a championship preview. Do you think it lived up to the hype?
I'd say so. I think it was the first meeting as well between these two teams at the stadium since the 2019 final. So it's always exciting as well. And I did think it was an evenly matched game. I think, obviously Cavalry go up early and you kind of wonder how the teams are maybe approached the game. But then, Forge came back. Rubens Pacia scored again. Kyle Becker comes up in big moments, as everyone keeps saying. And yeah, it was definitely a very, very exciting game.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I thought in the post-game press conference, listening to Bobby, he said something interesting. When they were up, he put an extra attacker on. So he put Campbell. It was Campbell and Welshman that went on as subs. Most coaches, when you have a lead, you're on the road, it's the second half, you're going to go more defensive. He thought this is a great opportunity to beat them on the counter because they're going to be pressing so hard. Just another kind of glimpse into the mind of Bobby, just different from a lot of different coaches.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting choice. I think he was absolutely right there. As Forge took the lead, Cavalry were going to have to start pushing more and maybe leaving some space open for in exchange, I guess, for them having more score opportunities. So Bobby recognized that, brings on two very, very good players. Campbell's, I believe, the all-time CBL record goal scorer, so not a bad guy to bring off your bench. And yeah, it did work as well. I think at times, getting behind in these spaces that were now open because Cavalry was trying to attack the other way.
And Pacias is a guy, I mean, I don't know what's left to say about him. He's just been on an absolute tear, and he's a guy that hasn't played a ton of minutes this season. So, his goal per minute ratio's looking pretty high right now. And as far as, young strikers go, I think we're looking at one of the better ones.
Yeah, he's a 2001 as well, so he's getting a lot of those valuable under 21 minutes as well for Forge. And when you have a player who's doing that and I believe on 9 goals now and 6 in the last 4 games, like that's sort of a dream scenario for any coach in the CPL. And Pacias is again and again proving he's one of the top young strikers and pretty ruthless when he does get an opportunity in front of goal.
And a guy, a lot of times, sometimes in soccer, we don't give the keepers enough credit. Henry, they went down early. He was solid throughout. He punched out a corner almost immediately after that opening goal that got close, and then he makes that save in stoppage time. When you're playing on a good team, it's the way it goes. You're not going to see a ton of shots. You're not always going to see a ton of action. But Henry's been a guy that if he's getting 1 or 2 shots against the game, he answers the bell. Yeah,
absolutely. He might want that first one back from Joe Mason at the beginning of the game. Like you said, he came up big at the end of the match. There's a couple other saves during this match as well where he was pretty important from corners as well. Like you mentioned a couple times in that game, he jumped up to punch the ball away, and that's what you want to see from your goalkeeper. When they're not facing a lot of shots, you want to see things like that, like punching away corners or being a good leader at the back. And these are all very important things and something he's done pretty well during his time in the CPL.
Listening to Tommy Wheeldon Jr., the Cavalry FC head coach, post-match, and he talked about one club finished their chances, the other one didn't. And sometimes it's just that simple. I mean, Forge, if we really break down the stats, Forge had an edge. But I mean, I don't know that it was a dominant performance. And Cavalry had their chances, so it's a little frustrating, I think. Going to bed, we heard from some players that it's going to be a tough one tonight, going to sleep after this one, because there were opportunities to be had.
Yeah, Joe Mason said after the game it's gonna be a sleepless night, but I think the important thing for him and any player in that position is to just move on from it. Like, the game's in the past now. You did miss some chances. You didn't win the game, but the important thing is just to focus on the next one. For them, it's an important game against FC Edmonton. It's a big rivalry for them, of course. So the important thing is just to forget about this one and make sure you finish your chances in the next game.
I thought it was interesting too. Kyle Becker got some praise from both coaches after the match. And he's a guy that he's not always going to show up on the score sheet, and he does so many things off the ball and just with his leadership. It's almost like having a coach on the field with you. But when he does we've seen it. He has some highlight reel goals, and he's a guy that makes the most of his opportunities, kind of what Cavalry's guys couldn't.
Yeah, so essentially, like you mentioned, that volley on the goal today was fantastic. We heard both coaches say, big players step up in big moments, and Kyle Becker's kind of the epitome of that, I guess, as we've seen for 3.5 years now in the CPL, and again tonight, of course, getting his team all 3 points.
All right, Benedict, thanks so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed the match, and you can check Benedict Rhodes out at CanPL.ca, and you're also part of the Newsroom podcast with the CPL, so we can catch you there as well. All right, take care.
Thank you.
All right, your final from Spruce Meadows, just outside of Calgary, 2-1 Forge FC over Cavalry FC. Forge now at the top of the CPL table with plenty of games in hand as well. Next up for Forge FC, quick turnaround again, Sunday, on the road still against Atletico Ottawa, a club they are tied with right now. So huge match against Cavalry, and an even bigger one on Sunday against Ottawa. It's been a great year. The way the standings are looking, I think we're in for an interesting one all the way through and into the postseason. After that match, Forge finally returns home. They take on HFX Wanderers. It's a Saturday match, August 6th at 4 p.m. All right, subscribe. All your Forge content, the most Forge content anywhere, is right here. Subscribe on Spotify to the Forge Audio Network or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe on YouTube and follow Forge on social media, where you'll see our content there as well. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
We are the Forge, the mighty, mighty Forge. You just don't think you understand.
This has been Match in Review with Anthony Urciuoli on the Forge Audio Network. For the latest on all things Forge FC, subscribe on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.